Good morning again. Welcome to our Finish Well presentation today on legacy giving and financial planning. Please silence your electronic devices. I forget to announce that every week, so I'm going to have it on the schedule from now on. Pastor Carl is going to open our session in prayer this morning. Here he comes.
Good morning, everyone. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I want to give a quick thank you to Sylvia and the Finish Well team. Can we give them a round of applause? We're so thankful for this ministry that teaches us so much of the areas that we need to be informed about in order to finish well, and today is one of those topics. So I'd like to go ahead and go straight to prayer, and let us get into this informative topic. Let's pray together.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for our time together. And Lord, we ask that you would speak to us through the wisdom of our speakers today, but we also pray that you would speak to us through the wisdom of your word. God, we know you as the ultimate provider. We want to be taught by you. We want to be led by you. And we want to one day enter your presence and hear you say, well done. We want to finish well. And so in this particular topic this morning, would you open up our hearts, our minds, give us some good questions to ask so that we can prepare well. So thank you for this time, and a time of fellowship, a time of learning. We pray that through it, you would be glorified, your name would be lifted up, even in these particular topics. So thank you so much, Lord. We pray all of this in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Carl. We have a couple of humble servants who are going to be giving you prizes. There's 2 prizes to be given out today. So while I'm talking to you about your handouts, Drew and Mike are going to be handing out your tickets that give you options for maybe winning a prize. So I've got some tidbits to go through, and your handouts are what I want to talk about. And the one on top is the home fraud. Some of you or all of you may be familiar with this because HOAs have been passing this information out that there's been a problem with people stealing the titles of your homes. And this gives you an option, tells you how to go on and, what's the word, Ted? Yeah, it's Pima County. Why am I not seeing it on there? You can go to Pima County and make a, oh, it's on the back. That's why I can't see it. Besides the fact my eyes are, not good. Under Protect Yourself, the second one is to register with Pima County Fraud Notify, the program, by visiting this website. And Ted did it with his daughter this morning, said it took about 15 minutes, but you can, if somebody tries to do something with your title, you get a notification. So read this, it's important. And they particularly target Green Valley because they like to target places that have already owned their homes, don't have a mortgage or in a trust, that kind of thing, to steal your title. And that's not a good thing. The other thing you might want to do is think about locking down your credit. That helps a little bit with people trying to get in and do things. Okay, secondly, you have a sheet that talks about tidbits. Tips, not tidbits, tips. Number 1 is the United Methodist Church that's on the corner of Esperanza and La Cañada offers a monthly meeting on dementia, and it's the 4th Thursday of each month at 2 p.m. And all their meetings are recorded, and they're on their website. And I have found that very helpful. They have professional speakers. And so if you are interested in learning about dementia, or you know somebody who would need to use that information or benefit from it, or you want to go to the classes, that's out there for you. So take advantage. Number 2, the state of Arizona offers property tax reductions for widows, widowers, and disabled veterans. Now, I've spoken about this before, but I was recently told that somebody got a $1,000 deduction on their taxes. So, you know, this is worth checking out to see if you are eligible. And honestly, the income can be higher than I thought it could. So check out that website. And you actually get to speak to a person if you call, so that's pretty exciting. Also, Arizona gives a credit under number 3 to a credit to Arizona residents. So you've recently received your property valuation, which looks like this, came last month. Down at the bottom, it says this property is classified as either non-primary or primary. It's also listed up here under the legal class. So if it's not the way you are, like mine, I'm a resident, but mine was listed as non-primary and has been that way since we bought the house. The real estate agents don't change anything. You are responsible to change that yourself. So look on your valuation and see, because if you are not if you're marked non-resident and you are a resident, you can get a credit from the state of Arizona. When I talked to the lady, she said it's basically a pat on the back from Arizona saying, thanks for being a resident. So she couldn't guarantee how much it would be, but it certainly won't be any more, and it's worth checking out. Okay, and the number 4 is just a reminder that our sessions like today are all recorded, and they're placed on the website for you to watch, and other people too, if one of your friends or neighbors wants to see it. And the directions are listed there, and also they're on the back of our brochures if you want to see how to get there. And also, our audiovisual team works hard to provide sound and video for you, and I just want to acknowledge them. Maria, she does our slides when we have those. Dan is in the back doing the sound. Give away, Dan, a wave. And then Robin is over here, and Ted is back on the camera. So they do a lot of work. Let's give them a hand. They really work hard. If you ask a question today and prefer not to be on the video, then please go and talk to Robin afterwards and he'll keep you off. Otherwise, he's going to be walking around videoing people who ask questions. And if you do ask a question, please make sure you have the mic in hand before you ask the question so it can get on the video. Okay, and then lastly on that sheet is the next Finish Well presentation is Friday, April 17th at 11 a.m. Please put that on your calendars. And we are finalizing the speakers, so we don't have the topic to announce, but it will be announced soon. And then the other sheet, where you're just giving you a bunch of sheets today, where's the other one? It's called Options for Legacy Giving, and that refers to our topic today. And I took this from Western Seminary's website in Portland, Oregon. They have an excellent website, and I happen to be friends with someone who works there, so he wanted me to check it out, and it was very good. It has not only gives these definitions, but it also gives examples of the situations and tax benefits that are available, and has a calculator. So check that out if you're interested. Okay. Now let me introduce our speaker. This is Drew Blease coming to talk to us. He's a financial planner in Tucson and owner of Blease Financial Services. He was recommended to us by our own Annette Wallach. Thank you, Annette. And he has graciously accepted our invitation to speak. As always, for legal purposes, I will remind you that Drew is not the only financial planner in the area, and we are not expressly endorsing him, but we are very happy to have him come and speak to us today. So Drew, please come.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. No, I hope not either. That would be unfortunate. Well, I want to first of all thank you guys for coming. Time is an investment, And for you guys to take your time to come and hear me speak today, I hope that it's worth it. I put together a lot of good information I think you'll find valuable. So I appreciate you guys doing that. And I also want to thank whoever brought the cookies, because I was thinking about having the oatmeal because then it'd be like breakfast and then be really healthy, right? But I saw a chocolate chip and then that went out the window. So, but I've only had one so far, so we'll see how I do with that. So I also want to go ahead and give a really warm thank you to Annette, who's been a client for a long time and a good friend, and also for Sylvia for asking me to come and speak today, because this is kind of cool. It's a great organization. It's really nice for everything that you guys do to try to help you all, you know, and especially at no charge. That's really cool, you know. Yeah, so I'm very grateful that they're having me out today. First, I'm going to go ahead. I have to read some legal disclosures, so you can take a nap for just a brief moment. But I was told from LPL, the compliance department, that I have to read these. So I'm going to get this out of the way right now, and I'm going to say it hopefully pretty quick, so because it's compliance legal stuff. Fixed and variable annuities are suitable for long-term investing, such as retirement investing. Gains from tax-deferred investments are taxable as ordinary income upon withdrawal. Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals made prior to age 59.5 are subject to a 10% IRS penalty tax, and surrender charges may apply. Variable annuities are subject to market risk and may lose value. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized tax or legal advice. We suggest that you discuss your specific situation with a qualified tax or legal advisor. I was just thinking about the FedEx commercials back in the day when that guy would talk really fast. Any guys remember those? I try to do my best. So that's over with now. So I wanted to share some information first about myself. My father retired at Davis-Monthan when I was 5 years old in 1970, and that's what brought me to Tucson. And I became a financial advisor 38 years ago next month. So it's been a little while. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's been a little while. And I have a great team of 7 individuals. Our office is in Tucson, and by the old Foothills Mall that's being kind of rebuilt into a really cool indoor-outdoor mall. So that's going to be nice when that's done. I think it's going to open up at the end of this year. And we manage about $550 million across all the United States, and we put some packets out for you guys that have information about our firm. There's also pads in there and pens, and I would encourage you to, if you have a question, if you're like me, if I have a question, I don't ask it right then, it might be gone forever. It's very possible. So if you have a question, just write it down, because I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to answer any questions that you have, and I'll leave time at the end for any questions and do my best to answer them and answer them correctly. You know, so that would be great. As far as my personal story, I was brought up going to Catholic church. I didn't really know what a relationship with God was. My brother, when he was in college at the U of A, actually got to go and see Josh McDowell, the Josh McDowell, if you're familiar with Evidence of the Man's Verdict or More Than a Carpenter, and his son Sean McDowell now is part of his company. And he saw him speak. That turned his life around. He shared the gospel with me, and in 1997, I became a believer and was baptized, and it's yay God, you know. Yeah. And so I'm going to be using a little scripture today, and I also want to share with you guys that if you're not sure of where you're going when you leave this earth, please talk to a pastor, talk to a volunteer. You can talk to me afterwards, because we, you know, God as well as all of us want to make sure that heaven is super crowded. So if you're not sure about where you're going, please talk with someone and they can help you, let you know what has to be done for that, okay? Because that's, bless you. God bless you. So I'll go ahead and get started with our talk. The title of our talk today is A Faithful Finish, Putting Your Affairs in Order with Peace and Purpose. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is legacy giving, because we can all give, and I'm very, very fortunate to be able to give quite a bit to charities that spread the gospel. And so me personally, all my giving is going to have a Christian foundation. Not only my church, but also, Gospel Rescue Mission, Teen Challenge, Samaritan's Purse, just there's so many good ones. And so I'm very blessed. And I look at it like, and actually God kind of shares with us that he gives us the ability to make wealth, and everything that we have belongs to him anyway. And so if we're asked to give a little bit back because he cares about our hearts, he doesn't care about our money. He wants our heart. And we know, and he knows that, if people are going to worship something out there and it's not God, very likely it's going to be money a lot of times, and so they put money and then God. And so God wants to reverse that. That's why God talks about in the Bible so much. That's why he talks about finances. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So legacy giving, I want to talk a little bit about how not only can you obviously give now while you're alive, no kidding, okay, but there's ways that you can give when you're gone. And churches and faith-based organizations, after you're gone, they still can use your funding. Okay, I mean, it's obvious that's something that can always be beneficial. And spreading the word and saving lives for eternity, is the most important thing that we can do, in my opinion. And this book agrees with me on that one. Okay, so I'm going to share some scripture that kind of back up what I'm talking about and show the importance of that. So, a couple of scriptures I'm going to share. Leviticus 27:30. And what that says is a tithe of everything from the land, whether grain from the soil or fruit from the trees, belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord. And a tithe, most of you probably know, it means basically literally 10%. And the reason that I think that God kind of laid it out that way is because, if we're making 30,000, 10%, 300,000, 10%. Okay, so as we're blessed, we can continue to be a blessing to others. So I think that's it's like he had a plan. I mean, I'm speculating, but I'm pretty sure. Proverbs 3:9 and 10. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. I'm not being prosperity gospel here, but I'm just saying that we will be blessed. If our heart belongs to God, we will be blessed. It doesn't mean financial, okay? But there's a lot of ways to be blessed, and I know that I'd rather be blessed in lots of other ways other than financial if I had to pick a blessing, okay? Like to be like Solomon, give me some wisdom. Can always use extra wisdom, so. Another one here, Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And I think that's terrific because we at Blease Financial, I would say about 85% of our clients are Christian, they're believers. And that's just grace to God, because it's just an extra blessing to be able to work with more believers. And the ones that aren't believers, they're not dead yet. So hopefully we can, be a positive influence on them as well. And next is Matthew 6:19 through 21. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and thieves break in and steal. But store for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy and thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's one of my coolest verses. That's one of my memory verses. And I just think that really kind of encapsulates, if I'm saying that right, the, where God wants us to be with our hearts and with, what we worship. Okay, just a couple more here. 2 Corinthians 9:6 through 7. Here we go. Okay. Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, but whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each man or person should give what he has decided in his heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. So when that plate comes around or you go to that offering box, it's like, yeah, I get to do this. I get to do this. I don't have to do this. I get to do this, is the attitude we want to have. And then last but not least, 2 Timothy 6:17 through 19, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant nor to put all their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. And I think that just kind of sums it up. God's given us everything good in our lives, so to give him a little bit to spread his word, I think should be a big priority for us. So how can we do that? Okay, well, one of the most used tools for our clients is a charitable remainder trust, and what that is, there's a lot of benefits to that. But if you have usually it's going to be an highly appreciative asset. So maybe you invested $100,000 in stock, and now it's worth $200,000. You can actually give that to a charitable remainder trust, which is drawn up by an attorney, and then you get a tax deduction on the present value of a future gift, and you can name, say, our church here as the beneficiary, and then it will pay you an income of 4 to 5% while you're living. You get the tax deduction right now, and then when you're gone, it pays out to the church, and they don't pay any tax because they're 501c3. And so there's multiple benefits with that, and it's really popular. And like I said, an attorney can draw that up, and then it can be invested wherever you choose to invest. You still have control over where it's invested, but it's a way to use something that you might have that if you invested $100,000 in a stock, and now it's worth $200,000, and you sold it, you're going to pay roughly $15,000 in tax, give or take. So if you do that, then there's a lot of benefits to that. That's one way that you can do it, where it's a future gift to a church or a charitable organization of your choosing. So that's one way that's really popular. Another way is life insurance, good old-fashioned life insurance. Because life insurance is for money when you're gone, right? And most people think, well, when I'm retired, you don't need life insurance, and that's very true. For a lot of people, you don't need life insurance at this point in your lives, okay? But it can be a wealth creator. And so we have some clients that have put, if they have some extra money and they don't need the money right now, they could put $100,000 in life insurance policy, and when they die, it pays out $300,000. They can have that go to a spouse, have that go to kids, they can have part of it go to a church. A lot of benefits to that. However, you do have to be somewhat healthy, okay? You don't have to be walking on water, but you got to be somewhat healthy, okay? But that's a really good option people really don't think about. As I just mentioned, you can give highly appreciated stock. That's a good gift to have because, again, if you cash it out, you pay tax. You give it to a church and they don't pay tax. You can give your required minimum distributions from your IRAs, your qualified plans. You can give all or portion of that to a church. And so we have clients, many clients, who will give us a list of 6 charitable organizations, and usually their church is one of those. And if they're required minimum distribution that you have to start taking now when you're 73, and once you start taking that, the government wants their tax. That's why they force you to take it. And so if you have an RMD of say $30,000, if you give $10,000 of that directly to a church, which we can do or any financial firm can do, then you don't pay taxes on that. Okay, it goes directly to the church. Now you don't get a tax deduction anymore like you normally would. You can't have your cake and eat it too, but you're not going to pay tax on it. It goes directly to the church, and it's very easy to do, and we do that for a lot of our clients. So it's kind of a cool way to do it. And every year they'll let us know where they want to give it, and we'll do it for them. So next thing I'm going to talk a little bit about are annuities. Now, there's no good and bad investment, okay? CDs have pros and cons. Stocks, pros and cons. Everything has pros and cons. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of annuities, okay? If you have annuities, that's great. We have some clients that have annuities. But the annuities that a lot of these annuity salesmen push, where you go to lunch or you go to a free lunch or a free dinner, okay? It's it's not free, right? I mean, they're a lot of them are like really nice. Now, I would encourage you go out and eat all their food and don't do any business with them. Okay, let's put them out of business if we can. Okay. Sorry, I've seen so many things in 38 years and so many people that have been taken advantage of. So it's a little bit close to my heart there. But one of the things about annuities is that they are tax deferred. If they're non-IRA annuities, they're tax deferred, but then you pay ordinary income tax when you take money out, okay? And so, and there's no step up in the cost basis. And so I'm going to go over an example of kind of what that means. But if you just had that same money invested in, say, a basket of stocks or a basket of mutual funds, and then you die, there's a stepped up basis on that, which means there's no tax. Where with an annuity, and I'm going to go over an example in a minute on a whiteboard, there's going to be a tax when you die for your heirs when they sell that investment, okay? So again, with the legacy planning, we're looking at trying to make it so that it's a benefit not only for you, but for your beneficiaries, okay? So let me give you an example of what that would look like here. Okay, so if we had $300,000 invested, whoop, this thing's a little shaky here, okay? Okay. And let's say that it was 20 years ago that you did this investment at 8%. Okay. Then, sorry, my handwriting's really poor. Yes, it's okay. That would be worth 1,398 in 20 years. Okay. If that's in an annuity, okay, then there's a $300,000 amount that you initially invested. So that would be the taxable gain. And now with ordinary income tax, let's just do like 28%. It's hypothetical, obviously. We don't know what that's going to be for this hypothetical individual, okay? And then we're at a tax of $307,000. Now, you could there's things you could do. You could annuitize the annuity so it pays out over a period of time. There's different things you could do like that. But the bottom line is the tax is going to have to get paid at some point, okay? If that same money was invested in a brokerage account in just a basket of stocks or something like that, whatever, mutual funds, okay, then they would have that million, this amount, okay? And now, when you die, that's new cost basis. Okay, which means that your kids could sell this with zero tax. Okay, zero tax. Okay, so that's, kind of self-explanatory, I guess, on that one. And so that's one of the reasons that we're not huge fans of annuities, because we want to make sure that it's a good investment, not just for you, but also for your kids. And then if you did want to invest in some individual stocks, inside of annuities, it's either going to be an index annuity, which 9 times out of 10 sounds a lot better than it is, because they're annuity salespeople that make a commission when you buy something. Okay, they're transaction oriented. Okay, we're fee-based at our firm, and we recommend fee-based for most people. Okay, so that's one thing about the annuities that we don't love. Okay, now since we're talking about cost basis, okay, we're talking about stepped up cost basis. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is, a lot of our clients, they want to do the right thing before they're gone, just like you guys are here to learn about how to do that, and they want to make it easy for their kids. And so they think of things like, well, I'll just give my house to my kids while I'm alive, because then they don't have to worry about it. They know where it's going. Maybe there's no fuss. The kid wants to live here anyway or whatever, okay? But when you do that, they don't get a full step up on the cost basis when you die. And so when you do that, if you give, let's say you have a house that's worth $500,000 and you give it to your kid, you have to file a gift tax return. Okay, they call it. There's a carryover cost basis. So basically, instead of, if you died with it, let's say that you invested. Let me just do an example here. Let's say that you had a home price, you had a basis of $300,000 again, but this is for your home. That's what you bought it for, okay? And now it's worth $900,000, okay? It's been a few years. Now it's worth $900,000. If you leave this to them when you die, okay, then they can sell this with no tax. So they get $900,000, okay? If they sell it, it's the date of death value. That's what the cost basis is. So there's no tax. If you want to give that to them, then what will happen is that because they get a $600,000 step up because it was initially worth the cost basis was $300,000. They would get a $600,000 step up if you just gave it to them when you passed, okay? But if you don't, then they're going to lose half of this step up, okay? So they'll only get their full step up. They'll still have tax on $300,000, okay? If you give it to them before you die. So what we recommend for our clients is we want them to call us anytime before they do anything at all with their money or any kind of asset. Call us, call us, talk to us about it, and they do, thankfully. We let our clients know we're available to you for anything at all. We don't care if we're managing it or not. We're not real estate agents. We just want to make sure that our clients are doing the right thing for them and their kids, or at least to have all the knowledge and all the information. Then they can do whatever they want. But at least we want to make sure that it's educated decisions that they're making. And so that's really, really important to us. Another reason you don't want to put the asset in their name is because if they're sued, okay, if you're still living in the house too, if they're sued, well, that's an asset now, okay, and that could be taken away, okay, if they're sued for any reason at all. Also, like I said, they don't get a step up. And then I had one lady tell me, she said, "Oh, I got it figured out. I'm gonna sell my house to my kid for $1." Have you ever heard about people doing that, right? And it's like, oh, that's a great idea. Then you just gave them. If you sold to them for $1, then you gave them $899,000 gift, in this example, okay, and they lose half the step up, okay, because they don't get your step up anymore. So there's not. I'm all for doing things legally to try to benefit us financially, but it's kind of hard to cheat the system, so to speak. And I don't even like the word cheat because it kind of goes against my religion. Just how I am, okay? Let me see here, okay. Oh, sure.
So what you're talking about there is... Microphone, please.
Oh, good job, Sylvia. The microphone police are here to protect us, to serve and protect us.
So what you're talking about is true throughout the United States?
Yeah.
Not just in Arizona?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah. There are some differences with different state taxes and things like that. But thank goodness it's not that confusing. Okay. So the best way to avoid probate on your home, okay, is to have a beneficiary deed on your home, but you have to make sure you file it with the court, okay? Because people are like, hey, I got the beneficiary deed and I died, and now no one knows about it because it wasn't recorded. So it's useless, okay? So, yeah. Oh, yes, ma'am.
How does a trust work? Like, would it be beneficial to put that into a trust when you pass? Then
That's the other way to do it. Sorry. Yeah. Beneficiary deed is one way. Trust is another way to avoid probate. Yeah, for the kids. Yeah.
Same as
You're
a
looking at my
death,
notes over there. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
is that the same as a death deed?
Boy, that sounds about the same, doesn't it? I'd probably just Google that one, but I
So
don't know.
the attorneys, apparently, that's what I have for
Yeah.
my house.
I would assume that that's
And
the same thing. It sounds
so-
like they're synonymous, but I'm not an attorney.
So when I die, it will automatically go into the kids' names, and they just have to go and,
Then that would be a beneficiary deed, so it sounds like it's the same thing. Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
And my understanding is also recommended to do that with your cars. To
Okay.
get a benefit, go to the DMV, or here it's called ADOT.
Okay.
And get a beneficiary deed put on your car.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Love this group. This is great. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, all that can be, all your personal property can be put into your living trust.
Yes.
So you don't have to have separate things for each one.
No, you don't. If you have a trust, that'll take care of a lot of this. Yeah.
Another quick
But
thing
but it
too-
doesn't mean everybody needs a trust either.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing too, that 1.398, 1,398, whoever gets that has to pay capital gains on that. So it's not, the whole thing is not just free. You still got to hit with tax consequences unless it's in an IRA type account or Roth IRA like.
That's not accurate. Because if you invested the 300 grand and you're still alive and you have 1,398,000 and you sell some of it, then you absolutely will have a capital gain. But if you die, okay, then there's a stepped-up basis on that. If it's not inside of an annuity, there's a stepped-up basis on that, and your beneficiaries will receive the date of death value as the new cost basis, and they can sell the whole thing with no tax. Yeah. So, thank God, because that's one of the things that they were talking about. When they talk about, the government wants to, keep taking more of our money, they want to do away with that step up in cost basis. And oh my gosh, that would be not good. Yeah, not good. So a couple of other tips to share with you guys. If you need extra money in a lump sum, like for hopefully something fun like a vacation or a new car or something, we do recommend that sometimes you want to think about taking money out of an IRA first, okay, before you take it out of a non-IRA account. Because even though the IRA you're gonna have to pay more taxes on the IRA because it's ordinary income tax, okay, usually your tax bracket's higher that way. But remember, a non-IRA is a better investment to leave for your kids. So you want to let that one grow a little bit, okay, because you get a stepped up basis. With the IRA, when the kids inherit that, now they have a 10-year payout rule, okay, that they have to liquidate over 10 years. And then it's going to be taxed as ordinary income. And there's no step up on IRAs. So you just want to kind of keep this stuff in mind when you're just doing something as simple as, I want to take out $30,000 to buy a car, $40,000 to buy a car. Which account do you take it from? We make sure that with our clients, we take it out of the right account, based on what their goals are. Now, if maybe they don't have kids, or maybe, whatever the case is, maybe they'd want to take it out of a non-IRA account. But do the right thing for you. A lot of advisors out there will just say, well, first you want to take it from the non-IRA account because it's only capital gains tax and it's only on the gain, so we could take it out and the taxes are less, which does make sense in general. But it might not be something that would benefit your kids. And at least you want to, again, make a knowledgeable decision. We want to be knowledgeable, because not everybody's the same. Everybody's unique and different in one way or the other. Okay. Yeah.
So a question I had was, you mentioned that an annuity, you're paying, it's a life insurance product perhaps, you're paying a one-time commission. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true, yeah.
So if you had $1 million in the bank and a brokerage account and you're at 1%, wouldn't you be paying like $10,000 a year in brokerage fees? So it's not like it's free by having brokerage versus the commission on a life insurance annuity.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to say that I wasn't really even comparing like fees from annuities, because there's commissions, okay, but then there's also fees, which are separate. I mean, with annuities, okay. So there's a commission, and then there's fees as well. So I'm not trying to kind of compare, and I'm sorry if I'm coming off because again, we have clients that have annuities. There's some annuities that are really good and that serve a good purpose. Okay, I'm just talking about in very general, very macro sense. We're not really big fans of them. Okay, I could go over why if you want to meet afterwards or talk afterwards. Okay, I'd be happy to. But that's what I'm trying to say. So, because there's fixed annuities that are like CDs that you can get like 3 or 4% for 5 years, and that's pretty good. So again, I'm I'm very macro with that. Okay.
But if you had that $1 million in a brokerage account over 10 years at 1% brokerage fee, you're like looking at $100,000 fees over those 10 years.
Yeah.
So you just got to compare all of the data.
Yeah, and what's the one in the asset management fee earning compared to the, I mean, this is, yeah, so we'll talk, get me afterwards, okay? Okay. Sorry, I didn't want to get off on a tangent there, okay? I also want to talk a little bit about beneficiaries, because you want to make sure with all of your assets, you want to have beneficiaries in some form or fashion, because if you have a listed beneficiary, that is one way that you can be like, okay, that's going to avoid probate. Okay, because if it has a named beneficiary, it's going to avoid probate. So what you don't want to do is there's drawbacks to having your trust be the beneficiary of your IRA. Okay, because some people will say, well, I have a trust, I want everything to go through that trust, and they make the trust the beneficiary of the IRA. You can do that. I mean, it's not illegal to do it. Okay, but if you do it, there's some drawbacks to that. Okay, one of the drawbacks is that trusts have higher tax rates. Okay, so if it has to be paid through a trust first before it goes to your eventual beneficiaries of the trust, okay, let's say you have 2 kids, okay, Jane and Bob, and they're the beneficiaries of your trust. You could also make them the beneficiaries of your IRA, and then they get it directly right from that. Okay, and then it's not going to have to go through a trust, which has, like I said, has some drawbacks like higher tax rates, higher potential administrative costs. If you have the trust as the beneficiary of your IRA instead of your spouse, that's really bad. I mean, unless for some reason you don't want your spouse to get it, but if you want your spouse to get it, you want to make sure you have the spouse as the beneficiary, not your trust, because a spouse can then just roll that IRA into their own IRA, and then they can have those distributions last as long as their lifetime. They don't have a 10-year payout. That's only for the next generation. But if you have it go to a trust, sometimes those trusts, if they're not written properly, you'd have to pay that out over 5 years. Okay? So you just, trusts and IRAs usually aren't real good to go together. Now, there's exceptions. There's always exceptions, you guys. Okay, what if you have a child that has a special need? Okay, and when I say child, I know we're talking about 50-year-old, 40-year-old, okay? I get it, okay? They're not child like mine, But but what if you have a special need? Well, then you might want to have that IRA go through a trust, because that trust is going to be paying out over a period of time. It's going to be managed over time, and it's going for a kid with a special need. Or you could have a kid that hopefully none of you guys do, but some of our clients have them. They're financially irresponsible, okay? Or worse, they have substance abuse issues, okay? You really want to please look at a trust, okay? I'm not saying maybe for the IRA portion of your money, but you don't want to have a child with a substance abuse problem to inherit a lot of money, okay? It could literally kill them, okay? So keep that in mind and talk with your financial advisor, your lawyers about that, and keep that in mind, because we don't want to see that happen. I know you guys don't either, and that's a really important thing to consider. Beneficiary designations on your investment accounts, you want to have them like on IRAs or accounts you want to have your accounts titled TOD or POD. So if you have an account in an investment firm that's just in your name and that's it, okay, and there's no beneficiaries listed, then that will go through probate, and that would be unfortunate, okay? And all you got to do is change the title. Instead of Jane Smith, it's Jane Smith TOD or POD, however they're going to do it, and then you put beneficiaries on it, and then it goes to beneficiaries when you're gone. You just have to give a death certificate, and it's easy, okay, easy to do. But you want to make sure you're doing that. If you have an investment account that isn't titled TOD or POD, and you have a trust, then have the trust be the owner of that account, okay? But to have a trust, you have to have the trust be the owner of the account, okay? Or you could have the trust be the beneficiary of the account, but on an IRA, you don't want to do that. But on a non-IRA, you could have the trust be either the owner or the beneficiary. So, yeah, yes, sir.
What's a TOD or a POD?
Okay, good question. Sorry. Transfer on death or payable on death is what it stands for. Yeah. And that's just a way to title an account. And I would also recommend at your banks that you have your bank accounts titled TOD or POD. And you could also have, I think it's not a bad idea at all, on like maybe a checking account, you could have that, you could have one of your, like, let's say the responsible kid, okay, you know, hopefully we all have, with all of our kids, we got at least one responsible kid, at least this week maybe, but, you know, you could put them on the title also, okay? That's not a really horrible thing to do. You know, knowing that they definitely could get money from that account. You know, if they're on the title, they could go to that bank and go, give me that money, and they'd have to give it to them. So you want to make sure, but it does make it easy if they're responsible, and they wouldn't do that. It makes it easy for when you're gone or when things come up that you're maybe incapacitated and you need some help, that would be a benefit. And that kind of leads me to the next thing.
Question.
Oh, yeah.
So I've seen a lot of people who put their name and then their child's name on the checking account, but you're saying it should say your name and then TOD and the child's name so that they can't actually access it while you're alive?
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, so yeah, because that's two different things. So if it's titled TOD, then their names wouldn't actually be like on the check, you know, and it would be like more where there'll be a beneficiary listed on the account. And what I was talking about was if you trust them, you know, and if they're responsible, it's not a bad thing to have them listed on the account so that they could write checks while you're still alive. You don't have to be dead, because if you become incapacitated, that might be something that would be helpful. Okay, again, got to make sure they're responsible. Now, so that's a good question. So you could do it either or, but it's not bad as long as there's not like, you know, 500 grand in there and kids like getting like, oh man, 500, you know. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I have a brother who's a bachelor, and I'm on his account. So it doesn't need, I have a brother who's a bachelor, and I'm on his account. So just as a safety, if something happens to him, then I can access it. So we don't need to say TOD or POD with that?
Not if he wants you to inherit it when he's gone.
He does.
Then you're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
If you want to leave it to someone else, and you're kind of helping him while he's alive, but then
Yeah.
you want to leave part of it to someone else, you'd want to
Okay.
have that named in there. Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Great question. Good question. You guys are asking good questions. So you don't need a trust to avoid probate. A lot of people think that you do need a trust to avoid probate, but you don't. Okay, but trusts are very beneficial for lots of different things, but not everybody needs a trust. Now, if I was a trust attorney, and I'm one of those trust attorney that's like, yeah, right? You start laughing already. If I get paid to do a trust, and I'm not going to get paid if you don't do a trust, then by golly, you probably need a trust, okay? But I'm not. Okay, so thank God, I'm not a trust. Yeah, thank you, Jesus, I'm not an attorney. Okay, but you do want to have, always, you want to have powers of attorney for healthcare and finance. You want to have a living will, and you, at the very least, want to have a will, okay? And I cannot stress enough how important it is that you have powers of attorney, okay? And you can go to any attorney and they could draw that up. I mean, you could go on, you know, Legal Zoom or something. I mean, there's a million ways to do it, but you definitely want to have that done. And I'm going to go over some examples of when that isn't done properly. Oh my goodness, it can be a real mess. And unfortunately, we see it. And our clients, we try to, you know, go through all this stuff with them and make sure that everything's done well, but then they can do something and not tell us, you know, and then we find out after the fact, and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that, you know. So we want to make sure that you guys are doing that. Now, there's an example here one of the examples I put down. We had a female client, this is like last year, so it was pretty recent. She was 70 years old, she was a widow, she didn't have any kids. She was, as far as we could see and as far as she felt, she was super healthy, okay? 70 years old, which I think is young. I mean, if you're 70 and healthy, then you're doing great. 3 months later, after we had a review with her, she got diagnosed with stomach cancer, okay? She didn't have any POAs listed. Her brother called for money to help with her expenses. We couldn't touch the account legally, Okay, and she had an account. Now, we have discretion on our accounts for our clients. That means that we could do trades on their behalf, okay? Because if we, like Apple is one of the stocks that we hold. If we wanted to sell Apple, okay, you know, we don't want to have to call every single client. It's insane, okay? So we have it so that we can do that on our client's behalf, and we're fiduciaries in that respect, and so we have to do what we do in our client's best interest, and if not, they'll sue us and they'll win. So we do what's in our client's best interest. It works out, okay? But with her, we couldn't do anything. So the thing that's scary too is, what if we did want to sell something? You know, what if there was something that happened to one of the companies and we wanted to sell it? We couldn't have even done that, you know, without a POA. So we couldn't do anything until she passed away and now she didn't live, sadly, very long. But we couldn't touch her account. We couldn't do any trades to her account. We couldn't get any money to help with her expenses that her brother wanted with her account because she had no POA listed. Okay, so just make sure that you do that. You know, it's really important. And don't be like me. Don't procrastinate it. Okay, write it down. Get some accountability with a partner. Okay, yeah.
Is considered a fiduciary when you take on a client of theirs, like, or is there sometimes you're not? Because
Oh, boy.
that holds you with a lot of power in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that 99% of the time, we're going to be fiduciaries.
You are.
You know, but we could, again, that's something that if any of you guys wanted to sit down with us, you can give us a call. Let whoever picks up the phone when you call know that you came to this workshop and set up a time, and we could go over that with you, okay? But the good thing is that, you know, you can look us up on BrokerCheck. I've been doing this for 38 years. Tucson and the surrounding areas, it's kind of a small community, you know? And with a name like Blease, how many of you have ever heard of a name like Blease other than me? It's not Smith, okay? So if I do something wrong, I need to move, okay? But I've been here 38 years, so yeah. So, but that's a good point, okay? Can't hide with that name, you know, just can't do it. So that's an example I wanted to share with you guys. Now, if you have a trust, I'm just going to give you guys some tips right now. If you have a trust and happen to be single, make sure you have a co-trustee. Okay, so you don't want to be the only trustee on that. You want to have a co-trustee. Okay, like a kid or something like that, someone that you trust. And then you want to have a successor trustee. Okay, so you want to have a co-trustee, you want to have a successor trustee. And then have a co-successor trustee. Okay, because you never know, yeah.
Could you please explain what those are? A co-trustee and a successor trustee?
Yeah, so basically, if you have a trust and you're the trustee of the trust, then as long as you're alive, you have all the power to do everything you want, okay? And then when you are incapacitated or dead, then well, let's say incapacitated. If you're incapacitated, then the co-trustee would be the one that would be kind of in control of helping you do the trust. And they have a fiduciary duty to do the right thing with that, and hopefully you pick someone you trust. But then if that co-trustee dies first, okay, then there's a successor trustee, or successor co-trustee, and then they would be the ones that would be helping you if you're incapacitated. Now, when you just die, okay, then there's an executor, okay, and then their job is to disperse the estate as your wishes state in the trust, and then close the estate, okay. So that's a couple of the things that there are to do with that. So another thing that you can do, and these are some other helpful tips for you guys. You should, and I really encourage you to do this. Encourage your kids to sit in with you on your appointments with your financial advisor. It doesn't have to be every single time, okay, but at least once, twice, periodically. It doesn't mean you have to share all the information about your finances with your kids. You don't have to do that at all. Just tell your financial advisor, hey, I'm going to have my meeting with you, and my kids are going to stay out here in the lobby. You go over all the investment stuff with me, but then I want them to come in, I want them to meet you, I want them to talk with you. Hopefully, maybe they become a client, okay? It's super easy. If your kids are clients with the same firm, then when you're gone, it's super easy for that transition. And the kids already have a relationship, they feel comfortable, there's a lot of benefits to that, okay? So if you like your financial advisor and they're doing a good job for you, I would encourage you to, tell your kids, hey, if you don't have a financial advisor or one that you're thrilled, talk to mine, because that's really cool if you could do that. This makes it easier, for the kids when that happens, when the time comes. Share with your kids what your wishes are for when you die. Share with them that, okay? Now, we do have a book that we're going to give away a couple of these books. I'm dead, now what? Okay? So, we're going to give these away to you, a couple of these away with the raffle tickets. We'll do that at the end, okay? But we make sure we give our clients all of these, okay? Or all of our clients those, because they're really, really helpful books. And we looked at a lot of books to try to find one that was, easy and comprehensive and things like that. Okay, so you want to make sure you're doing that. I'm on the next page here. Okay. Yeah, make sure that you give your kids, again, at the very least, if they never come to town and they're not here ever, maybe they could do a phone appointment with your advisor. Maybe they could do a Zoom appointment with your advisor. At the very least, send them your advisor's business card, something, okay, to get that connection going a little bit, all right? We've had clients, unfortunately, we work with all retirees, that's not unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they pass away, okay? That's the unfortunate part, okay? I started working with retirees when I started in this business when I was 22 years old. And I looked like I was 12. So it was interesting, I'll say that. I don't even think I shaved yet. But when I was early on, I realized I don't want to be working nights, and I want to work with people that have money. I know it's crazy, but that's what I was thinking. And so I thought I should work with retirees. So I started working, and when I was 25 years old, and I've been, at that point I might look 15, and I started working with clients in Green Valley way back then. It's just something that I have kind of an affinity for, but the thing is that they do pass away, and when they do pass away, they goes to their kids usually, okay? And their kids have money somewhere else too. And then we always tell the kids, hey, you can keep the money with us. We know what your parents are doing, or you could take it. It's totally your prerogative. We're here if you want to use us. But I'll tell you what, I think that everybody should have one advisor, because if you have one great advisor, okay, you don't need any more advisors, people are like, well, I don't want all my eggs in one basket. That doesn't mean 15 advisors. That's not what that analogy means, okay? That analogy means I shouldn't have all my money in one stock. That's what that analogy means, okay? It doesn't mean multiple advisors. People are like, well, I want to have my money in 15 different advisors. Great, but that's a pain. It's a pain for your kids. It's a pain for you. And also, one advisor doesn't know what the other one is doing, okay? You might be overweight a stock and not even know it, okay? So if you have an advisor that you really like, give them all the money. Keep money in a bank too, okay? It's good to have bank money too. But do that, because it's easier for you, it's easier for your kids. If they're not great or you don't trust them that much, then why do you got money with them in the first place? But that's your money. So, but what I would encourage you to do is, when just make sure you have everything set up. And a good way to do it is, you want to update your beneficiaries regularly, because kids get married, kids get divorced, so there's name changes, okay? You want to make sure that there's phone number changes. Get your advisor the phone numbers, get them the updated addresses. Try to keep up on a lot of the information on the beneficiaries. It doesn't mean we're not going to find them, but it just makes it easy. It makes it easier, okay? And then make sure that the executor of your estate understands what their role is, okay? Because sometimes executors, they think, oh, I get power when you're alive. I'm a co-trustee. No, you're an executor. You can do nothing. You have no power, okay? And so that you want to make sure the executor knows, of your trust, knows what their role is. That their role is, when I'm dead, you disperse it just like I said. That's it, okay? Then you close the estate. and they don't have anything to do with it until you're gone. Okay, I'm just looking at my notes. I already did some of these. So one thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and close, then I'm going to open it up for questions again. There was a real life story, and this is kind of still ongoing with these clients. So I had a father that passed away, and the mom was in memory care for dementia at the time. Okay, they have 4 kids. Their son was named as POA of finance. One of the daughters was named as successor trustee, because right now the co-trustee is the mom with dementia. So that's no bueno, okay? And they've been clients for a really, really long time, and really good clients and really good people. So they had 4 kids. The POA stated, the way it was drawn up, and this is very, very common, and I think it's really smart, the POA stated that the POA doesn't become active until there's a letter from the doctor that says that this mom, in this example, is incapacitated and can't care for her own affairs, okay? So that triggers the POA. So without that, the POA is useless. And the mom with dementia has all the power. Well, remember, the dad died, mom has dementia, okay? There's 3 accounts, 2 IRAs, 1 for each of the mom and the dad, dad's passed, and then 1 trust account, okay? The POAs would affect the IRAs, and the successor trustee affects the trust account, okay? But it's a little confusing. But without that letter, we can't do anything. We can't do any trades. We can't do any sales. We can't give them any money for the mom's care. We can't do anything, okay? And to make it even better, in private, the brother who's the POA and the sister who's the successor trustee stated to us in private, individually, we don't trust each other. Yeah, good times, right? Yay, okay? And to make it even worse, there's some real estate involved, and some of the kids live in some of the houses that are going to be going to all the 4 kids when mom eventually dies. But one of the kids is living there. So they get to be like, please let me stay in my house with the other kids. It's a mess, okay? We told our clients over and over at reviews, fix this, fix this, fix this, okay? But we can't do it for them, you know, until it's too late, because they couldn't agree on what to do. They would butt heads. You know, this couple, they butt heads. They couldn't agree on what to do. And now it's like a great, wonderful mess for all the kids. So we couldn't do anything for a long time. Let me just look at my notes so I don't miss anything with this story that we just dealt with, like the 3rd and 4th quarter of last year to try to get through this. So when we meet with the mom, she even though she had dementia, you might not know it if you just met her, okay? She would share everything with you, but then she would just ask the question again. So it's like, but she was aware of what was going on at that moment, okay? So do you think that she wanted a doctor to say she was incapacitated? Nope, okay? And guess who was afraid of their mom? The 63-year-old son, who was the POA, okay? And so, and we could tell the mom all day, we can't do anything with your accounts until you get this letter. And she'd be like, oh, okay, I'll have to get the letter. And 5 minutes later, she's like, what letter? You know, and the son was afraid. So, let me see. So everything was frozen. So finally, we got the letter, and everything was available. But they would keep calling us for money, and we told them over and over, we can't give you any money. We can't do anything. We need that doctor's letter. And they keep calling next month, we need money for mom's care. Oh my gosh, we need the letter. So finally I was like, look, if you don't give me a letter by this date, we can't. We're going to make it a house account. We can't do this, you know, because it was like over and over and over and over. And then I'm liable, you know, I mean, potentially, if something's going on. So anyway, so that's the fun stuff that we get to do, okay? But we are really blessed. I love what I get to do for a living. I love coming to work. I've got a great team. Mike is a believer. Our other advisor is a believer as well. And we're just so fortunate to do that. And so I'd like to open it up for any questions for you guys. And if you have any questions about what it's like to be a client of ours, you can bug Annette, and you can bug Janice, okay? Because they've been clients for a long time. Last time I was actually in this church was for Paul May's funeral, Janice's husband. So the pickleball king of Green Valley. So yeah. But any questions anybody has for me for anything? Yes, sir. Now use a microphone. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Oh, there it is. I had a situation just like you were just describing with my sister, and she ended up losing everything, just going through it. And actually, she was in a dangerous situation because it was bad. It was bad. So
I'm so
you're
sorry.
right.
I'm so sorry. Well, I'm glad you're here to learn from this stuff.
So my question was, with an executor of an estate, is it good to have something that says that they can use your resources for any expenses they have in doing that?
Usually, the way it's written is that they can do that, and that they can even take like some type of we'll call it like a stipend for the work that they're doing, the hours they're putting in. You know, so there is something like that to number one, you know, usually compensate them a little bit because it is time consuming and can be very time consuming. But also that they you know, it's their job to, and they have the authority almost always to pay bills that the estate incurs and basically do everything that they have to do to settle the estate. Nobody owes anybody anything. The money goes and the assets go where the trust said to go, and then they eventually, once all that's done, the estate is officially closed. All the taxes are paid and everything's done. Yeah, good question. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just assume a good attorney can handle almost everything you've mentioned here
Yes, sir.
versus a financial advisor.
Oh, yeah. I just think that you want to have the attorney work with, if you have a financial advisor, have the attorney work with a financial advisor. If you don't have a financial advisor, the attorney can do everything that we did talk about. And then the good thing is like if you don't have a financial advisor, you can make sure on your own. You can go to the bank and title your bank accounts TOD or POD or whatever. Those are synonymous. It's just some banks call them one thing and some banks call them another thing, that's all. But yeah, you don't need a financial advisor for any of the stuff that we've really talked about, for sure. Great question, yeah. Oh, could you, got a microphone to this gentleman over here, please? Yes, thank you.
A few assets, can you just, on all your financials, put your beneficiaries, or what should go into a trust?
Absolutely. And like I said, not everybody needs a trust, for sure. You definitely can do that. So you just want to make sure that everything has a named beneficiary. IRAs ought to have beneficiaries listed, but any investment account that you have, or bank account, checking account, anything that has money in it, you can title it in a way that will avoid probate, for sure. Yeah.
Beneficiaries.
Well, through a TOD or POD, that's how you do it. Yeah. That's technically how you would do that. Yeah. And it's free. Yeah, it's just retitling something. The bank can do it. Your investment firm can do it. Yeah, it's great. It's a great tool. Yes, sir. Good question. Yes, sir. Just maybe hold a little bit closer to that.
No?
There you go.
Okay. We had supported a child in Bangladesh through a Christian program, and he's likely to be in the program for another 10 years or so, and we probably won't be in any program at all in 10 years. So what instrument could we use to keep the monthly support payments going to this child's welfare?
I'm sure there's going to be more than I can come up with, but I know that, one of those could be through a trust, another one could be through a charitable remainder trust, or a irrevocable living trust. And you could just let your attorney know or let an attorney know what your wishes are, and then they could, see which one would be the better one for yourself, or, and also share that information. If you have a financial advisor, share it with them. But there's going to be multiple opportunities, options, I would say, that you could have for that. And I think that's awesome that you do that. We've supported World Vision and for years, with adopting kids overseas and stuff. So that's really cool. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for thinking of continuing to help that individual out. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Microphone. They want to make sure you use a microphone so that the question is on the old videotape there.
If you have an existing trust and various things, what is the cost of having a review of your current status if you are some years since you completed your designations and all that stuff?
That's a really good question, and that's going to vary depending on the attorney the law firm that you're going to talk to.
No, I'm sorry. I asked you what your associated cost is. Are you allowed to tell me?
Oh, okay.
In this form?
Okay, I'm sorry. So first of all, I want to make sure I'm not an attorney. I would not be reviewing your trust because that's not something that I've been trained to do. I know enough to be a good financial advisor with law practices, as an ancillary topic. But I would not be capable of reviewing the trust for you. Are you talking about just other things in general? Okay. Well, let's put it this way. There's no fee to meet with me. Yeah. Yeah, there's no fee to meet with me at all, okay? Unless someone becomes a client, there's not a fee at all. I'm happy to help, happy to meet with anyone and help them in any way that I possibly can. And I'm always going to be, I'm just going to call it like I see it, so I'd be happy to do that. So you get me for the bargain price for the appointment of $0, okay? But don't beat me up, I can't beat that, okay? So yeah, good question though, yeah.
Are you able to, or would you like to refer us to law firms in the area that you?
We do have some law firms that we do like, and so if you want to talk to me afterwards, I could give you a few names for sure, yeah. Good question. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay, when you have property in another state, and it's just been purchased, do you need to take that information to the courthouse or something if you have a trust set up, or does the trust automatically cover it?
Yeah, who owns the house?
Us.
Okay, it's going to depend on how it's titled and what you want to happen with that house after you're gone. Okay, so depending on what your individual wishes are, you may want to have the trust own the house. You may want to have the trust you might want to have the house have a beneficiary deed. That just depends on what you want to have happen to the trust. But when you take possession of a house, ownership of a house, you definitely want to make sure that now that you have it, that you handle that properly depending on what you want to have happen to that after you're gone.
So it doesn't automatically go into the trust?
Usually trusts have something called a pour-over will that things that have, if you didn't get around to it and you just happen to die and within a reasonable period of time, it kind of is assumed to go under and inside the trust. But you're now, capable of doing something, so I would definitely do it and not risk it. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Does your income come from playing around with our stocks? I mean, I'm just curious.
Say that one more time.
So does your income come from managing our stocks?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I mean, you've got to have
And
an
I can
income.
answer these
You've got to
questions
have an
properly.
income source. So if we're not paying you to see you.
Yeah.
If I give you my portfolio and said, okay, now I want to do high risk versus low risk, you then make it, that's how you get your income?
That is 100% correct.
Okay, just
Yeah.
want to clarify.
Yeah, no,
'cause-
that's a great question. Yeah, we don't charge a fee to meet with us. We love what we do. We're blessed to do what we do. And the fortunate thing is, we don't need any more clients to live. You know, God's been very fortunate to us. You know, if someone's nice and we can help them, we'll do our best to do that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
There we go. There's an attorney that Don Densmore used. He suggested that we have our trust reviewed there. We did this a couple years ago. I think her first name is Phoebe, I know that for sure. I think Harris may be her last name, I'm not real sure. Phoebe Harris. She's in the corner of Continental Mall. She took over her father's business. She's really knowledgeable of trusts, wills, those kinds of things. Densmore got his done for free when we got there. I guess she saw us coming, so she charged us a couple $100. But we redid our wills to some degree. We switched them around a little bit, but I think our fee on that was $250. But she did a great job. She lives up in Sarita. Nice gal. I trust her. I would go back to her again. Just a recommendation. And in regards to your company, you're a fiduciary, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so fiduciaries
Easy for you to say.
fiduciaries are good. They are committed to take care of your interests before their own. The plug for you guys.
Thank you. And it's Phoebe Henderson. And her father was Walt Henderson. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, no, I know Phoebe and I knew Walt pretty well, yeah. I don't think he's retired, but I think he's passing it on, you know, yeah. Yes, sir.
We also have an attorney that does this kind of work in our church. His name is Jim Carey Hamby. So go see him if you need it. He gives you a pretty good deal. He's my attorney.
Oh, all right. All right, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know a lot of these.
Annuities are fine, okay, they're fine.
A lot of these are related towards attorney-type topics. I
Yes.
get that. But I was told when we were doing a review of our trust that if you have a successor trustee, like a family member that lives out of state, far, far away, you may want to consider having a local trustee, especially if you have real estate, a lot of issues. It's a lot of work for a trustee to do all that work for you. So it's something to talk about, to discuss with your financial advisor, with your attorney. Maybe there are dedicated attorneys who do trusts for you specifically to help sell your asset, to help basically execute the trust for you. Just that he advised me not to have my brother who lives, 1,000 miles away to do that. So just because it was put a lot of burden on him. Is that basically true?
I mean, I think that's a really good point, and if you could find someone local, I think that's great. If the brother is retired and lives in Michigan, he may be like, oh darn, I got to fly to Tucson and stay there for a while, or Green Valley. Gosh, I hate this. This stinks. So I think it depends, but I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially if they're still working. Yeah, good point. Yes, ma'am.
This is not a paid recommendation, but Drew is fair, very easy to talk to, and he does care. And he is concerned for what you have and can do and what applies to you. And I didn't intend to do this, but I trust him.
Well, thank you so much, Janice. I really appreciate that. And I'll pay you $20 later. No, I'm just kidding. No, thank you very much. I really appreciate that's very sweet. I do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. People ask me, because I'm at that age now, they're like, when are you going to retire? When are you going to retire? And I say, what, are you trying to get rid of me? But I love what I do, and I've got a great team, and I enjoy coming to work every day, and I make a difference in people's lives. And I think I know that this is why God put me on this earth, is one of the reasons was to do this. You know, I lead a small group also, and to me, the most important thing is helping people get right with God. But secondly, my career. I love it. So, any other questions? All right. Well, oh yeah, we get to draw. Yeah, thank you. All right, well, let me mix these up, and then Vanna White, if you could come up and help us out here. Turn some of these vowels and consonants. Yeah. So just pick a couple there, and just going to do it by the numbers. Got two? Okay. Oh.
You have the microphone.
Yeah, I have the microphone, and I need the glasses. Okay. So 908617. Oh, look at that. All right.
I'll pay you $20.
Right on. All right. Okay, let's see what the other one is here. We have 908603. 908603. Yeah? All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not going to check the number. I trust you guys. Strike you down if it didn't work out right. Okay, thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much, Drew. Appreciate it. And all your questions, appreciate those too. Drew's going to be around for a little bit longer. If you have any questions, you want to meet with him privately or ask something that didn't get asked. And I just want to thank you all for coming, and please continue working on whatever it is you need to do to finish well. We'll see you next month. Thank you.